Welcome everyone, we're Simply Bitcoin. We break down the news from Twitter, the daily fail, meme review, software releases, hardware releases, the websites by plebs. Joining us today, fellow Bitcoiner and pleb, Nozomi. All right, we are diving into the numbers. Let's do it.
Number time! Number time is brought to you by Bitcoin 2022. It's going to be the largest Bitcoin conference ever, hosted in sunny Miami Beach, Florida. Chad Saylor, Michael Saylor is going to speak, President Bukele, Adam Back. There's a whole list of speakers. Definitely go check it out, and you can take advantage of the link down below for 10% off your tickets to Bitcoin 2022.
At the time of this recording, the block height is 721,229. The Bitcoin price, 38,730. Chain rewrite days, 746. Total public Lightning capacity, that looks like a new all-time high, 3,385.52. Moscow time, 2582, and blocks to the halvening 118,771. Nico, the numbers, and you know what? Before I hand it over to you, this is episode 420.
Oh,
this is so. Speaking of the numbers, we've got the magic number. So,
why is it the magic number, Phil?
We're gonna get into that. It's the magic.
It's the magic number. If you know, you know. But anyways, Phil, check this out. Huge tweet from my favorite president. His name is Nayib Bukele. He is the president of El Salvador. He is changing the world. Anyways, check this out. It's funny because I tweeted this about a year ago, but I didn't get 28,000 likes. and I said there's 47 million millionaires, by the way, to be specific. I don't think there's more than 50. I think that last time I checked, there's 47, according to my research. Maybe he has different research. Anyways, check this out, right? There are more than 50 million millionaires in the world. Imagine when each one of them decides they should own at least one Bitcoin. But there will ever only be 21 million Bitcoin. Not enough for even half of them. A gigantic, this is the funniest part. This is the president of a country speculating on Bitcoin. A gigantic price increase is just a matter of time. That is absolute craziness. He's definitely taken the orange pill. Man, I can't believe the president.
He's just shilling opium.
He's shilling opium. But yeah, look.
I mean,
let's talk about the signal first, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's absolutely right. There's only 21 million Bitcoin. Subtract the 2 to 3 million that are lost, estimated, right? This is really like, 18, 19 million Bitcoin, right? Mm-hmm. And then divide that by the amount of millionaires, and there's not enough to go around. He's absolutely right. I think this is what Bitcoiners have been talking about for forever. I think in the future, Phil, it's going to be more rare to meet a whole coiner, someone that just owns one Bitcoin, than it is to meet a millionaire. And I'm very excited for that future. It's going to be freaking awesome. Phil?
I think it's already difficult to meet a person that has at least one Bitcoin.
It's true.
But think of it like this, right? No, but it's going to become even more rare, right? It's going to even more scarce. But interestingly enough, we are in a timeline where the president of a country is trolling the millionaires of the world. This is where we are, people. Can't make this up.
What do you think the World and IMF people did when they saw that tweet? They probably melted a little bit on inside. They're like, "Oh, you can't do that. That's bad." Yeah,
no, they're definitely unhappy. They're definitely unhappy with what he's saying. I'm sure that we are going to soon see another tweet from them about how terrible he is, and it's going to be just a lot of back and forth, and he's going to troll them back, hopefully, really hard.
It's true.
That's what we can hope for.
All right, so, Phil, Nozomi's a PhD, bro, okay?
Nice.
So she's probably looking at us like, these two freaking idiots. Nozomi, what are you thinking? What do you feel when you see that tweet from the president of a country? He sounds like a Bitcoiner on Twitter.
I mean, I think that, it is kind of exciting, right? Because the leader of one country understands the value of Bitcoin. And but I would actually encourage people to maybe push it a little bit further. which is the one person, ordinary person in El Salvador or Venezuela adopting Bitcoin is as important as president, of El Salvador, president of one nation state adopting. So I think this kind of excitement toward like celebrity, whether that is Elon Musk or Paris Hilton or president, and then we get excited about this. That's a reflection of the fiat culture. Fiat mentality. And I think it's important for us to change the mentality that Bitcoin ultimately doesn't care who we are, doesn't care who adopted. It's for Bitcoin, it's as important for the ordinary person, in China or Venezuela adopting Bitcoin. It's as important as the president of one country adopting or whatever. So I would maybe encourage people to maybe look at it differently and maybe be mindful of where we pay attention to. And especially Twitter is, the platform, social media, the platform that really amplifies the certain kind of message or signals, right? And then we became more politicized, or it kind of create a single point of failure again, whether it's a reputational attack or a nation, geopolitical attack or whatever. So I think, once again, at the end of the day, Bitcoin gives freedom to everyone. And we, the ordinary people, matter the most. So,
absolutely. Wow.
Very well said. Yeah.
Very, very good response. But yeah, I completely agree. I think that's what we advocate completely, right? Bitcoin levels the playing field before everyone. That's why the World Economic Forum, that's why the VCs absolutely hate it. They want an edge. They're used to an edge that is given to them by the fiat financial system. And in Bitcoin, you got to get in line like everybody else, right? And if you remember what Michael Saylor had to do, Michael Saylor had to stack, right? He had to stack in a little bit because he couldn't buy all at once because that would just pump up the price. But he had to essentially buy like everybody else, right? And I think that's the signal. What Nozomi was saying was that Bitcoin makes everyone equal, and the small person or the unknown person or the farmer in El Salvador, right, stacking Bitcoin. I think the difference that it's going to make to their life compared to the president, I think, is just as big, right?
Yes.
Anyways, really cool stuff. Appreciate that, Nozomi. But anyways, Phil, it's time for
The Daily Fail. The Daily Fail is brought to you by Amber App. Check them out, amber.app. The spokesperson is a Muppet. It's the easiest way to buy Bitcoin, a Bitcoin stacking app by actual Bitcoiners. The link is down below.
Amber, the smart way to stack sats.
All right, yesterday I mentioned that I had this story coming, but we had more pressing failures that we had to report on and crap on. But now we can finally take some time to dump on this a little bit. So here we go. Ethereum Foundation kills ETH 2.0 in favor of consensus layer rebrand. That's right. Let's focus on the marketing.
Did it die? Did it die? Is this 2.0 failure? Is this ETH 2.0 done?
It's not. It's not. It's just honestly, all it is just horrible rebranding and marketing. And don't get me wrong, but to me, this is what companies do when they don't actually have a viable product. They continue to spin it over and over again. Anyways,
when Bitcoin 2.0, Phil?
I'm still waiting.
Did you know? I'm gonna drop you guys a fun fact that I learned from a Bitcoiner that's a lot smarter than me. No Bitcoin software will ever be called 1 point something. They will always be 0 point blah 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 because Bitcoin is never finished. How cool is that?
I love it.
Right?
And it's true. Actually, it's interesting that you bring that up. I didn't realize that Bitcoin Core wasn't at an actual 1.0 version yet. And there was some type of controversy where people wanted to say that it was so that we could show like movement and traction. And anyways, unfortunately, perception is reality. Doesn't mean that it's the truth, just means that it's the perceived reality. Anyways, let's dive into this perceived reality. All right, here we go. Ethereum 2.0 is being retired in favor of consensus layer, okay? So, look, I'm going to try to make this as not confusing as possible, but it's really difficult because the goalposts keep moving The names keep changing, and they keep adding more and more ridiculous wording to fluff up what it is that they're attempting to try to do. Okay, so just bear with me. Consensus layer is also beacon chain. Okay, beacon chain is where there's $33 billion worth of ETH currently locked up, quote unquote, waiting for 2.0 staking. Anyways, let's continue. The rebrand reflects the fact that we've been called Ethereum 2.0 is really more of a network upgrade rather than a whole new network, okay? I'd be much more concerned with the tech than I would with the marketing. Like, wouldn't you actually just want this thing to work and then you wouldn't have to worry so much about the marketing? Anyways, ETH 1.0 will be known as the execution layer. That's where I guess things get executed and die. Anyways, it's a bad joke. And ETH 2 will be the consensus layer. Okay.
Wait. So are they doing...
Yes.
So they're saying... I see what they're doing there.
But it gets weirder because
this is a side chain. They're doing Lightning. They're doing an imitation of Lightning. That's what that tells me, dude. Henceforth, ETH 1 will be known as the execution. That's layer 1, right? ETH 2, that sounds like layer 2. Sounds like they're copying it. And is proof of stake coming or no? No.
That's going to be part of the consensus layer. Okay, which check this out. The consensus layer, which I'm going to read.
So the base layer still has to be proof of work, like Bitcoin.
So no, they're going to move the proof. This is, again, I'm going to dive into this, but essentially they're moving that layer. They're deprecating the proof of work.
I don't know what that word means, Phil.
Oh, they're.
I don't have a PhD like Nozomi. Okay.
They're getting rid of the proof of work layer and replacing it with proof of stake. But you see, all of this is just going to be Ethereum eventually. And I'm going to show this to you on a roadmap, which will either make you barf or have a seizure, one of the two or both. But we'll see, okay? So here we go. Together, the two layers will merge into just plain old Ethereum after the consensus layer is ready to replace the current mining system. But this is what's interesting, right? They've had the $33 billion worth of ETH locked in that quote-unquote other layer this whole time, but it's not working yet. Anyways, as the Ethereum Foundation, a non-profit that helps coordinate and fund technical developments on the Ethereum blockchain, notes in this blog post, this shift all came about organically. Isn't it interesting that the Ethereum Foundation has a say in this? Isn't this strange? Okay, so just a quick recap, right? Just a quick recap that we've done 100 times. This is the executive board of the Ethereum Foundation, right? Vitalik, Patrick, the KYC AML expert, which is why they don't get touched, and Aya Miyaguchi, which is also part of the reason why they don't get touched, as we've shown in the past multiple times. World Economic Forum contributor, and in 2019 was appointed the World Economic Forum's Global Blockchain Council. Okay, that's why they're commenting on this, because they have a stake. Anyways, phase 0 of what was previously called Ethereum 2.0, the beacon chain, which I've been mentioning, went live in December 2020. So the next layer of it is already live and working, but the base layer of it is not live and not working. Okay, the beacon chain was designed to coordinate staking. Ethereum users locked up their ETH in a smart contract, which I mentioned, $33.8 or $9 billion worth. Anyways, the beacon chain was ready well before other elements of Ethereum 2.0, all of which prompted what the foundation calls a revival of research initiatives on the proof of work chain. If that doesn't smell like shit, I don't know what does. Okay? I don't even know what I just read to you in that last line. Honestly, like this is just word salad puffery to make you think of amazing ideas. Anyways, let's continue on the explanation of this total garbage. Okay, so here we go. The Ethereum Foundation blog, the great renaming, right?
Remember what I told you? Hold on. Remember what I told you about shitcoiners and their names, bro?
Dude, but look, the Ethereum, right? The World Economic Forum, they've got the Great Reset. The Ethereum Foundation, they've got the Great Renaming. Right? Like, you can't make this up. And look, Utopia, nobody has shit. They're all just sitting there in some general lobby and Ethereum in the middle. Look, we can't make this up. Okay, it's their website. You have the links for it. Okay, so let's talk about the great renaming. Beyond protocol development, a critical shift in Ethereum has been the movement away from ETH1 and ETH2 terminology. Notice, like, they're not talking about improving technology or adding to Bitcoin, which we've already proven offers the actual qualities that we want: censorship resistance, the decentralization, hard money, taking the power out of the government, all that stuff. What they're worried about is the terminology. We need to get the words right. Gotta get them right. Okay, here we go. Now we're going to understand what's coming. Okay, we've got ETH1, which we explained is the execution layer, ETH2, the consensus layer, and then you combine it all into execution plus consensus equals Ethereum. Okay? That's what it becomes. I don't know why this is so important. Okay, so here we go. Where did ETH 2.0 come from? As part of the roadmap, the existing proof of work chain would eventually be deprecated. There's that word again. So deprecated meaning not used anymore and or destroyed. Okay, however you want to view it, or a combination of both, via the difficulty bomb, which I might add, the difficulty bomb has been moved. I don't even know how many times anymore. It's like a rolling joke in like the Bitcoin OG circles about the difficulty bomb and how it never goes off. Anyways, users and applications would migrate to a new proof-of-stake Ethereum chain known as ETH2. Now, I just want to take a short pause. We're going to go take a look at the roadmap. I want to show everyone this roadmap, right? Because remember, they want to get the terminology right. They want to make sure they're not confusing anyone. So take a look at this. This is after it all happens, Nico. This is after they do the thing that I just told you about with the ETH1 and ETH2 consensus and execution. You've got the merge.
The merge.
Then you've got the surge. Then when that's over, we've got the verge. And then the purge. But wait, what's coming is the splurge. This is ridiculous crap. I don't mean to clown, but this is such clown world shit. And it's all just made up nonsense from Vitalik. Like, they even renamed Merkle tree into something called a Verkle tree. I don't actually know. See, Verkle proofs. So I went to go look this up and I found it on the Ethereum blog website, the Verkle tree. So once again, right, stealing the memes from Bitcoin, just, you know, rebrand Merkle to Verkle. I'm guessing the V is for Vitalik, but who knows? Anyways, okay. Let's go back to this thing. Okay, so here we go. Why can't we just use ETH 2.0? Why not? Mental models. One major problem with ETH 2.0 branding is that it creates a broken mental model. Think of the roadmap I just showed you all. For new users of Ethereum, they intuitively think that ETH 1 comes first and ETH 2 comes after, or that ETH 1 ceases to exist once ETH 2 exists. Neither of these is true. By removing ETH 2 terminology, we have all future users from navigating this confusing mental model. Inclusivity. Always. We always want to make sure everyone's included. Keep in mind, Bitcoin already offers inclusivity by simply just allowing anyone to join or leave the network at will. You don't have to mention inclusivity. It's baked right in. Anyways, but they got to let you know it's inclusive. Being careful and accurate in our word choice. Again, our word choice allows content on Ethereum to be understood by the broadest audience possible. Again, the marketing machine and the marketing spin. This is my favorite part of it, the scam prevention, right? We show you guys the rect leaderboard almost on a weekly basis. Unfortunately, malicious actors have attempted to use the ETH 2.0 misnomer to scam users by telling them to swap ETH for ETH 2 tokens, or that they must somehow migrate their ETH before the ETH 2 upgrade. We hope this updated terminology will bring clarity to eliminate this scam vector. So it's okay that our product is 70% pre-mine and that our foundation is 1/3 the world, a member of the World Economic Forum. That type of scam is totally different, but these types of scams we're going to prevent. It's such hopeless nonsense. Anyways, to wrap it up, the rebrand was a massive task with many content changes. So keep in mind, right? Keep in mind, what the confusing mess I just went through was all about marketing. All of it. You didn't learn about, I mean, to me, did anybody get any benefit other than understanding that this system is the exact same as the old system, except now there's been new terminology introduced, and somehow they want to create this idea that it's inclusive and it's better. It just sounds to me like they're reinventing the wheel, and they're just making it worse.
Dude, it sounds like they have a new marketing term that they're going to market with. E2.0, no, it's consensus layer now. You have to buy Ethereum because of consensus layer. Yeah, man, look, this is dog shit. I don't think E2.0, is ever going to come out. I don't think their pivot to proof of stake is ever going to happen. The reason for that is because proof of stake is dog shit. Proof of stake is essentially the old legacy system. It's a proof of stake system, right? Those that have the most amount of fiat, right, have more influence over the monetary policy here, right? It's the same thing, right? Those with more ETH, whether it's the ETH Foundation or whatever, have more influence over Ethereum. The fact that they're able to make that many changes should make you feel uncomfortable, because if they can make that many changes, that means that they could fuck with the money that you're supposedly saving in, right? And if you compare this to Bitcoin, right, the monetary policy is set in stone, and if you try to change it, you have to convince a lot of people running those nodes, and you're gonna have to convince them willingly and no other way, right? A good example of that was the fork wars. Look how that ended up. Bitcoin Cash and BSV are not even in the top 10 anymore. They're done and dusted, right? That's what happens when a Bitcoin Foundation or a mining council tried to take over Bitcoin. They failed. It was the people that resisted that. And Ethereum, dude, okay, if you want to trust Vitalik and he wants to be your dear leader, go ahead, bro. Go for it. But this is dog shit. They've been trying to do this pivot for so long, and I think that the rebranding has to do a little bit, perhaps, with the fact that it's taken so much time. And they're like, if we rebrand, people will probably forget, and this will buy us a little bit more time until we rebrand it again. And again, dude, even on the second biggest cryptocurrency, the dog shit of shitcoinery is still there. But the good news is that they hide it behind a lot of fancy graphics and really nice websites. And those awesome World Economic Forum credentials. Yeah, bro. That, if Ethereum doesn't remind you of fiat, I don't know what will. Anyways, Zomi, are we crazy?
Well,
drop some PhD bombs on us.
I mean, I appreciate Phil for, going through with this, that it's had a really good entertainment value, I guess. I had a good laugh out of it. I think it's obvious that this is not backed by any real innovation, so that's why they have to engage in marketing. But I think that they have to hire better marketing person. It's obviously not working, and it reminds me of like a man who jerk guy, who repeatedly cheat on his wife, and every time like he's caught, then he just makes excuses, right? Oh, this was that, and never, in the first place, never admit the fault or the fact that he's jerk, and so without having any honesty or being transparent with consumers, that all they do is that they just make excuses. So yeah, this proves that this is just a shitcoin, and right. I mean, Nico was right. I mean, this is just a reflection of fiat monetary system.
That was a great analogy.
That was an amazing analogy, right? That
was awesome.
I had a whole thing in my head of the Ethereum and saying no to his wife, and his wife's like, "Why don't we just buy Bitcoin?" He's like, "No, but Ethereum too." Oh, right, man, exactly. Absolutely hilarious. But yeah, Phil, that was a journey. You took us on a journey. The plebs, I'm sure, are going to love that. Smash that like button, comment. But anyways, Phil, it's time for the Daily Meme Review. The Daily Meme Review is brought to you by Citadel 21. It's the best Bitcoin cultural zine. It's stories, articles, comics by toxic, savage Bitcoiners. And they're scarce. There's only 1,000 copies made per volume. This is a different artwork for volume 10. Really cool. Get your print of Citadel 21 today. All right, everybody. First meme is brought to us by... Listen, look, you gotta give the credit where credit is due. I'm not a fan of this account, right? He's a big TA guy, but this is absolutely hysterical.
This is funny.
It's a man and his wife, I'm assuming, right? You never know nowadays. Let's put his inheritance in a stupid JPEG. absolutely hysterical. They're looking over the baby. They're making fun of NFTs. Hilarious. All right, next one. It is by Bitcoin Gandalf. We over here chilling. Arizona, Texas, Wyoming, Mississippi fighting. And the Bitcoiners in the back. Happy 420, everybody. All right, moving on to the next one. It is by Anna Banana. Heard we're tenderizing or some. All 50 states in the U.S. Bitcoin game theory. The 50 states. Bitcoin game theory. U.S. on a Bitcoin standard. Oh man, hilarious. All right. Look, Marge, I'm an NFT. This is by RD. Okay. The last meme I picked for Nozomi. Okay, she's a tough audience right now. No laughs. Yeah. Okay. Toxic Bitcoin Maxis, AOPP. This was the Swiss rule that sneakily was involved into the Trezor, but the community fought back. Trezor removed it. And the last one, check this out. Some cartoons have a way of just hitting the target. Love, hope, say no more, united we stand. This referencing the truckers, the huge trucker protests in Canada. Mm-hmm. And this is the corporate media, paid government actors. And it says hate. Absolutely very powerful memes, awesome memes, good overall. Shout out to the plebs. Nozomi was a tough audience. So I'm very interested to see her score. But anyways, for me, I'm gonna give it a Crypto Cloaks custom case. STVs. I got it for my girlfriend. Yeah. She's never gonna build one. I'll build it for her and she'll run a node, but she won't even know she's running a node. But she'll appreciate the case. And you can take advantage of the link down below for 5% off CryptoCloaks.com. Phil?
Her name could be the unknown node runner. That'd be pretty cool. It'd be pretty cool and mysterious, and I always love mystery. Okay, those were awesome memes. I actually enjoyed them all. I laughed. I am going with this. It's a key remover. Okay, for mechanical keyboard.
You could just pop them out.
No. But this is to pop them out specially. It comes with the keyboard. So you pop them out without breaking it. It applies even a pressure when you pull.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Good score.
So you don't break the mechanism.
What would you give those memes? What would your score be?
Yeah.
You didn't like them that much. I didn't see any laughs or giggles.
It was fine. I mean, yeah. I
we need her on to review the memes more.
I gave this book, The Internet, The Freedom and the Future of the Internet, written by Julian Assange. It's book on about cypherpunks. So
very cool. Very
noble score. So maybe she did like those memes.
Free Assange.
I don't express my feeling much, but I think they were good.
Guys,
that was a great score.
You got to step up your meme game when we have a PhD on the show. Phil and I are just plebs, but when a PhD, you got to get PhD the fucking memes, Phil?
Are you blaming the audience?
I am. I'm blaming everyone in the chat group. You got to take it up a notch with the memes. Anyways, if you feel like you can do a better job, make sure to join our Telegram group. It's down in the link description, and make sure to subscribe to us on alternative video platforms because they're censoring a lot these days, like Rumble.com and our personal favorite, BitcoinTV.com. They don't censor there because Bitcoin TV. But anyways, Phil, it's time for the Daily News. The Daily News is brought to you by CryptoCloaks.com. They make the best 3D printed Bitcoin merch, like the 3D printed Bitcoin art grenade. Opens up, you put your favorite hardware wallet in there. Really cool stuff. Or the 3D printed Bitcoin honey badger. Really cool stuff, and you can take advantage of the link down below for 5% off CryptoCloaks.com. All right, everybody. So I'm gonna backtrack a little bit, right? If you guys not really backtrack, but I'm sure you guys have been noticing the giant clusterfuck that was Facebook's attempt. Now they're called Meta Facebook. I'm just going to call them that for the rest of the episode, okay? Meta Facebook's attempt at launching their own cryptocurrency. But it was a failure. And if you would have been paying attention to Bitcoiners, we would have told you from the very beginning it was going to fail. In fact, Satoshi said this was going to fail. But I'll get to that in a second. Facebook's cryptocurrency failure came back after internal conflict and regulatory pushback. Facebook's shuttering of the project, which would have created a way for users to pay for things and send each other money, check this out, Phil, I highlighted the important part, that wouldn't need to go through the regular financial system. That's why it didn't work. Came in response to internal clashes over its direction and sustained opposition in Washington, according to 4 people familiar with the effort who spoke on the condition of anonymity. Anyways, Diem, which was the shitcoin that Facebook attempted to launch, was effectively doomed from the start. The people familiar with the effort said it was announced in 2019 that the great fanfare under the name Libra, they tried to pivot, tried to rebrand it from Libra to Diem, didn't work. And I'll tell you why it didn't work in a second. Foreign governments, members of Congress, here's a lot of signal there, guys. Foreign governments, members of Congress, and regulators expressed fears about the project immediately, saying Facebook wasn't prepared to address concerns about money laundering. There it is again. Where have you heard that terminology again? They've been using that to attack Bitcoin. Money laundering, consumer protection, there it is again, under the guise, it's for your protection and other potential financial risk. All of this sounds like the exact reasons that the IMF told El Salvador as to why they should not have Bitcoin as legal tender. But so far, El Salvador hasn't spontaneously combusted, it hasn't caught on fire, and more people are banked having a Bitcoin wallet than the legacy financial system. So are these things right here really to protect the bureaucrats in power, or are they really for consumer protection? Anyways, so why did this fail? I'm going to read you a quote by Satoshi. I think he says it best. Governments are good at cutting off the heads of a centrally controlled network like Napster, but pure peer-to-peer networks like Nutella or Tor seem to be holding their own. So what happened with Libra? What happened with Diem? Right? And I'll get to why we're talking about this today in a second, because they just made an announcement. I wanted to riff on it a little bit. What happened with Libra? What happened with Diem? It was doomed from the start because Zuck wanted to be god of his own currency, and that's not going to work when the nation states are around. But why isn't that happening with Bitcoin? Because it's decentralized. It's truly decentralized. Now, why am I talking about this, right? Diem is old news. Well, I think it's a very good warning as to what's going to happen to shitcoins, stablecoins, and DeFi that don't have sufficient amount of decentralization to withstand nation-state pressures. Don't believe me? Wait 5 or 10 years as the Bitcoin and the crypto market cap that Bitcoin's going to bring with it continues to go up, right? You know, it's going to surpass gold, it's going to surpass these things, and it starts becoming a threat to the legacy financial money printer. What's going to happen? Those governments are going to apply pressure the way they know how to apply pressure. They're going to go after, to use Satoshi's words, the metaphorical head to chop off, right? Whether that's a foundation, whether those are the Ethereum nodes that are hosted on AWS servers, anything that they can shut down, they will shut down. Only a truly decentralized peer-to-peer monetary network like Bitcoin is going to be able to withstand that type of attack. It already did last year, right? China ban, right? You know, one of the most powerful nation states in the world shut down, or essentially, like pretty much overnight, you know, more than half of the mining all around the world, and in a completely decentralized fashion because of the economic incentives that Bitcoin provides. Those miners relocated, the great mining migration relocated overseas in record time. The hash rate has already surpassed the all-time high about a month ago. That is absolutely crazy. It's only Bitcoin that's going to withstand what's coming, right? And if you still don't believe me, check this out. They threw in the gloves, Phil. They threw in the gloves. They gave up. And the reason I say that I know they gave up is this is Jack Dorsey, right? Says this is great. What is he referring? He's referring a tweet by Copa, right? Meta joins the Copa board. Copa is essentially this board of all these Bitcoin and shitcoin companies that are advocating for open source policy. So a couple days before Facebook throws in the gloves, a couple days later, they announce publicly that they're going to join this free open source monetary thing. What does this sound like to you? Oh, fuck. We can't beat them in a centralized fashion. This looks like the better way, and here is the official announcement. Welcome Meta to Copa's board. And what is the biggest cryptocurrency patent commitment to date? Meta has become a member of the Crypto Open Patent Alliance, which encourages innovation by lowering the chance of patent litigation. Meta will also join Copa's board alongside Coinbase and Block. Representing Meta will be Shane O'Reilly, who manages Meta's licensing and transactions group. The move solidifies Copa's position as the leading cryptocurrency patent alliance, which is building a collective open source focused environment to protect core technologies for all users. Through joining Copa, Meta has pledged not to enforce its core cryptocurrency patents against anyone except for defensive reasons, effectively making these patents freely available for all to use. Meta's leadership in Copas underlines the importance of protecting open source technologies. Companies large and small can encourage innovation by collaborating on fundamental infrastructure. This is one step further to advancing Copa's mission, which is to remove legal obstacles so cryptocurrency can become the backbone for transferring value anywhere in the world, says Max Sills, IP counsel at Block and general manager of Copa, right? So make no mistake, right? The article from Washington Post, and then a couple days later, Facebook signals, and it's a very, very hard signal that, hey, let's try this open source, decentralized manner. And the reason that they're trying that is, again, and it's a textbook example of Satoshi's quote, right? Governments are going to go after that centralized effort. In fact, PayPal tried and Peter Thiel has an amazing talk about this. And he says essentially that Bitcoin is succeeding where PayPal tried, because Elon and Peter Thiel, when they started PayPal, they had this envisioned what Bitcoin is doing today. They wanted to do that with PayPal. But have you seen the monstrosity that PayPal is today? Especially if you sell something on eBay, you're going to know what I'm talking about, right? It's terrible. And that isn't because of PayPal. That's because of the heavy hand of government, right? The only thing that they're not going to be able to stop, and they're not going to be able to regulate, they perhaps will be able to regulate the on and off ramps. But in Bitcoin, they can't touch it. They can't mold it to their system, the legacy financial system it is today. And the legacy financial system is a system of exclusion. Bitcoin is a system of inclusion. Right? As much as they're going to try to scare you with these terms, unhosted wallet, non-custodial wallet, right? They're going to try to all use all that jargon to try to incept the NPCs with propaganda garbage. You know, listen, if it's not without us, if it's not without the Financial Action Task Force, the world's going to burn down. It's all garbage, right? They're doing it for control, right? We had Dr. Ron Paul, KYC expert. We went through all the receipts, right? It's estimated that only 0.01% of crime is actually stopped by the money laundering laws, right? So again, and it's just dog shit. But look, Phil, I think that this is a perfect case study of Satoshi's wisdom more than a decade ago, calling out exactly what was going to happen with Facebook. They were going to be shut down because, dude, it's a centralized system, and essentially they're trying to replace the US dollar, and the US government said no. Right? But with Bitcoin, it's the people's money. It's a decentralized peer-to-peer network. And perhaps it's not going to replace the US dollar per se. That's yet to be seen. But at least it gives the people an alternative. An alternative is very important, especially if your government is tyrannical or if your government starts to censor. Right? So, and I think that's the beauty of Bitcoin. I think that's what Bitcoin is going to provide. And I think that these days that we're living through, it really highlights, right, the necessity of having that alternative. Phil?
Yeah, just a couple of points. The first one being, right, in that article, they were discussing how, of course, they want to stop money laundering. As we've explained in previous episodes, it's not people like you and me that have the facilities and the capabilities to launder these amounts of money. Okay, the biggest laundering scandals in history have all been major banks. Okay, not little mom and pop shops. Okay, not little random individual people. They are the institutions that have the rails to launder money. Okay, that's the first point. The second point is, Walmart got shut down from being a bank over 15 years ago. We covered this a very long time ago. It's something that a lot of people today don't really realize. But you see, Walmart understood the strength of a network and understood that if they became a bank, they could effectively charge less for all of their services, and they could effectively create that as also a revenue stream. And that would, of course, give them the same rights and capabilities as a bank as well. So they were shut down very quickly, and Walmart left, tail between its legs. And the last point of this is about Facebook, okay? Facebook has over 3 billion users. Do you have any idea the type of network effect that would cause if they would have the ability to issue their own currency? Don't get me wrong, I don't like Facebook. I don't respect Facebook, but at the end of the day, they have a massive network that immediately exists. They've got marketplace. They've got a marketplace over there. They have communication mediums. I mean, it's a whole entire self-contained ecosystem that all of a sudden would have money. Already we can see the banking, we can see the institutions fighting for their lives, right? We can see the banking institutions lashing out. Imagine if they allowed a company like Facebook to become a bank, or in this case, right, issue its own currency. So, it's just tough. These are difficult places for these companies. And you know what? Look, Facebook just tipped its hat to open source development, right? Like, trust me, they want the closed ecosystem. They absolutely want the closed ecosystem. That was the first thing they did, right? Remember, what were the first things they did? Libra, DM. And then they rebranded to Meta, but it's always been about their ecosystem. So they've given up.
What's fascinating is that this proves what Satoshi said, right? It's that a centralized money was never going to work. The governments were never going to allow that to happen. But you see Bitcoin, and it's exactly what Satoshi said. It's holding its own. Like, they use the same language, the same terms, but at the end of the day, there's no Bitcoin CEO to call in front of Congress so that they can interview him. There is no one to call. There's no one to beat over the head with the club, metaphorically, right? There's no one to just lock in jail, right? There's a couple people here and there, but it's a hydra. Another head will pop up. Unless governments replace the incentives that are offered by the Bitcoin network, they have no chance, right? But anyways, Nozomi, drop us some wisdom.
Yeah. Well, first of all, Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook is not interested in decentralization. Bitcoin is a project of cypherpunks, and it's based on the philosophy of cypherpunks. And what it does is basically it's looking at with the use of strong cryptography, cypherpunks wanted to create a tool to enhance civil liberties online. So that this vision is connected to the freedom of the internet. And Mike Zuckerberg represents actually the complete opposite of this vision. So, he's not even, wanting to make the currency that is unsensible and is decentralized. So, he wants to have private, money that he can control, right? So that's, and then Bitcoin only happens once. There will be no, other currency that comes after Bitcoin that could provide us what Bitcoin is providing us, because of the fact that it's attract the adversary forces, the government and financial institutions, they don't want people to be free. So they are going to attack Bitcoin, right? And the Bitcoin was able to grow over time without attracting the adversary forces in earlier years, so that it had a time to grow. And then now it's unstoppable. No one can stop it, basically. So, Bitcoin is the only thing. And so, and also, like, anybody who says, like, Facebook CEO or Google CEO or anybody trying to create private or free money, I mean, they're just lying, because they have shown over time that they are not interested in decentralization. They actually want to have surveillance. control. And their method is, basically the control, secrecy, and manipulation, whereas the Bitcoin is based on the method of transparency and decentralization. So, we have to understand how they are different at the fundamental level, and the level of philosophy and the mindset, mindset of cypherpunks and the mindset of computer programmers or computer programmers, basically, they don't share the same values.
Completely. I completely agree. And I kind of want to add to that. And I wanted the last topic I'm going to cover. Nozomi's an expert on this, so I'm really interested to what she has to say. But I want to talk about this concept of censorship, right? Mm-hmm. And I want to talk about this concept of what we fundamentally believe, right, for two reasons. First reason is the Bitcoin network allows anybody to transact, right? It doesn't judge you based on your skin color, your religion, your ethnicity. It doesn't care where you're from. You're allowed to transact in the Bitcoin network. Mm-hmm. Very similar to the First Amendment in the United States, right? The First Amendment is a simple concept. And the reason the Founding Fathers designed it in such a way is because they knew that the person at the top that gets to decide what is allowable speech and what isn't allowable speech inherently has control over what is speech. And listen, people aren't perfect. Absolute power corrupts absolutely, right? So if you're at the top and you look at it, you're like, listen, that's considered hate speech. How do you know that your own ideological beliefs aren't making you biased towards a specific type of speech? Which is why the Founding Fathers came to the conclusion, which is, listen, let the marketplace of ideas get to decide, what is speech. Very similar to Bitcoin, right? The person who gets to decide what transaction is okay and what transaction isn't okay, think about it. Tremendous power over the network, right? So it's like you have to allow everyone to transact, like you have to allow everyone to speak freely, right? Very similar concepts. Now, I know what a lot of people are thinking, because I think that we've all been living through this microcosm of history right now where the political left in the United States happens to have, in this moment in history, a lot of power over the institutions and a lot of power over legacy media, right? So a lot of people either on the libertarian right or on the conservative right might be feeling like, wow, they're censoring our speech, they're deplatforming us, they're doing all of these things, etc., etc. I'm going to show you guys a little bit of a history lesson, and it was actually Nozomi and her About Me section that pointed me to this. This is called, check this out, the free speech movement. Yeah. Now, you won't believe this. This happened during the 1960s, right? Mm-hmm. But this is the part that's going to blow your guys' mind. The free speech movement was influenced by the New Left. Back then, right, and if you kind of backtrack a little bit to the McCarthy era as well, which was literally the early 50s, mid-50s, late 50s, it was actually the right that was censoring certain types of political speech, and that was actually people on the left that were considered victims of that. So as you could see, right, just because we're living through this moment in history, right, that political right in the United States happens to be the victims of censorship, deplatforming, whatever it is of that day, that doesn't mean that in the past, when the right had a lot of this institutional power, they weren't doing the same thing. Now, what's the point of all this? Why am I bringing all this up? We don't believe that anybody, the left or the right, should have the power and the ability to censor anybody. And Bitcoin is the next step. Because essentially what Bitcoin is saying, not only do you not have the power to censor people speech-wise, you should not have the power to censor people on their ability to spend money either. Right, which we know for a fact that the United States government has been abusing to essentially weaponize the dollar and go after the political rivals like Cuba, like Afghanistan. We've read you the horror stories, and essentially what happens with that? Yes, you might be able to shut down the evil governments of Cuba and Afghanistan. But what about all the millions of people that just want to put food on the table? They're paying for that as well. And we fundamentally believe that that is not okay. Anyways, we brought Nozomi on here because I know that she's a very passionate subject for her. Nozomi, what are your thoughts on all of that?
I think that I think it's easier to think of it as the fiat system versus Bitcoin system. And in the fiat system, basically, it's based on the system of representation. So governments, legal system, financial institutions, they are the ones who basically provide services, and then people have to trust these institutions, right? And then these institutions function as intermediary to govern society. And so, as I said, it requires the people to trust, the government or elected officials, president, all the people who set to represent our interests. So based on this third-party trust system, basically whether you are right or left politically, you are conditioned. Your mind is already kind of conditioned to give up our own power. And then instead of taking our own responsibility, we would depend on politicians or policies. And they think that if we elect the right person, then we can have good policies or whatever. And of course, what we think of good and right, of course, that the sense of morality, what is right, what is wrong, or what is right speech, what is appropriate speech, that judgment is largely influenced by mass media, because mass media is the important part of this fiat system, the fiat system to maintain its control. So then basically the mass media, coupled with in combination with social media, send signals, right? And then basically tell us how to think and how to feel. And then what I think the left has become a victim of this, that they started to engage in political correctness. So if you say something, if you speak your truth, and then they are conditioned to see certain opinions as politically incorrect. So then they are conditioned to basically attack them, and you basically say, you shouldn't say this, and then it's these issues concern things like identity politics, racism, Black Lives Matters, or climate change, or they really, those in power pick those issues that really provoke us, and the issues that are related to moral, or provoke moral sentiment, and they are the one who basically manipulate our mind to think that what is morally wrong and right. So we are not acting as a free individual to begin with, right? And then so basically the fiat system, with the use of mass media, manipulating masses, and then let them embrace cancel culture, so that you see on Twitter, for instance, the left celebrate, Twitter to basically, censor right-wing or conservative opinion, right? So that's, I think, what happened. And so what's important is we could basically move away from this fiat mentality of control and then start to basically withdraw our trust from those institutions, and then start to trusting ourselves. And the Bitcoin really provides the platform for that, so that we can, we don't need anyone's permission to allow us, to tell us what is right, what is wrong to begin with, which is freedom of thought, right? Which is the foundation of the First Amendment, freedom of thought, freedom of religion, nobody, no government, no one, the tech companies, no one can tell me how to believe, right? How to think as a foundation. And then we can freely express that as a form of free speech, and no one can interfere me doing, anyone with doing that, right? And then money, of course, as a part of free speech, of course, how we transact, who to transact with, and how to transact. No one can interfere with the process also. So I think that Bitcoin really changes the paradigm at the deep level, and it's really, the saying that we don't change Bitcoin changes us, right? So we would let Bitcoin change the way we think about, ourselves, where we think about, how we relate to one another, and fundamentally we take back our power at all levels, so that we don't have to ask for permission to speak freely. So
it was beautifully said. I completely agree with you. And it's a matter of unlearning, right? It's a matter matter of like, instead of outsourcing all of that trust, because technologically it made sense back then, right? Because you had no other alternative. But now that essentially anybody could become a broadcaster, right? Because of the power of the internet, and now Bitcoin, anybody can transact with anybody around the world. You don't have to rely on a third party anymore. Right.
And I think that this is another part that we are not aware of. It's that we think that we are able to have free thought, but that's not true. I think, when we examine our thought, that many of the thoughts are injected into us. It's how we think, what is right, what is wrong, and what is correct, or, all of those things, we are just repeating what was said by the mainstream media, for instance, and then we act on it, right? And then we ask, or we want government or tech companies to come in and to police us, basically, to protect us, so that, the left, I think, fall into that. They wanted to create safe space where they feel like they are protected.
Yeah, so to their protection, I think, so on the conservative right in the 50s or in the 60s, right, which is why I wanted to show that example, was like, we need to stop communism, we need to stop these anti-God lefties, like, we need to stop this is terrible. And then I'm sure that a lot of these people grew up with that tragedy, that PTSD built up inside, and then when they had all the power, they're like, we need to stop these God-loving people. So it's like, they're always, whether you're on the right or left, you're always going to feel like you have the moral justification to censor or to stop speech. But what Bitcoin stops them is essentially, it protects you from their ability to try to censor. They could try to censor you all you want, but they can't. Right, which is why we call Bitcoin the money of enemies, or at least Phil does. I took it.
Well, I think that if we truly understand the core of Bitcoin basically allow us to not to externalize enemies. That's the next level that I think that because we tend to externalize enemies, like enemies out there that I have to fight against or I have to protect myself from. But Bitcoin actually says that no, there are no enemies. Bitcoin shields us from enemies, whatever enemies. Because if we use Bitcoin, you can use Bitcoin without having anyone's permission. No one can stop it, right? So so I think it's.
So let's tie this in with because you told me before the show, and I think this is a tragedy. I think this was the death of the First Amendment, specifically in the United States, right? And I'm talking specifically about Julian Assange. And the reason I'm talking about this is because, so Julian founded WikiLeaks, right?
Yes.
And he started releasing, the one that really got him in trouble with the U.S. government was footage from the Iraq War. It was this very infamous video. Essentially, this Apache helicopter was gunning down a bunch of journalists. That makes the U.S. government look very bad. Right. Now, here's the thing. That's journalism. And technically, that's protected under the First Amendment. But a lot of people in government and high places essentially are making the argument that that's stolen material. But here's the thing. Newspapers publish stolen material all the time. So what's the difference this time? What is the difference? The difference is that they wanted to make an example out of him. That was the difference. They wanted to say this cannot happen again, right? And the reason that governments are able to do this with such a ferocity and such a strong, poignant rip is because they control the fiat money printers. They control the money printers, and if they control the money printers, they get to make all the rules. They get to pay the people with guns, right? So Bitcoin fixes this, but unfortunately, like Ross Ulbricht, like Edward Snowden, these are victims of the information war that we're currently living through. It's not a kinetic war, right? But have no doubt it is a type of warfare. And every tweet, every article, every video, everything that you publish is a metaphorical bullet in this war that we're fighting. And so Nozomi, I know you wanted to say some things about Julian.
Yeah, so thank you for giving me time to do this. Obviously, I mean, what Julian did was basic journalistic activity, and that he published material that is accurate, truthful about our government, and and exposed our government illegal wars and torture and corruption, basically. And then as a result of it, that he's attacked. He has been subjected to politically motivated prosecution. And so this prosecution, is really U.S. government's prosecution against Julian is politically motivated, and that's what the fiat system does. Fiat system cannot, they use, their weapon, their greatest weapon is use their systems in a political way, whether it's a legal system or a financial system, they are the systems that are built to serve for their interests. So he has been attacked, and he remains in the London's maximum security prison for years, and then so here it's things that I want Bitcoiners to know about is that Julian is a part of cypherpunks. He's a notable member of cypherpunks, and so he's one of us. He's definitely, he's a big Bitcoiners, and he understands the value of Bitcoin, the significance of it, and he supported Bitcoin as a project of cypherpunks. And as a matter of fact, that if WikiLeaks has been subjected to the financial blockade at the end of 2010, right after the organization published materials relating to Iraq and then Afghanistan war. So back then, the U.S. State Department basically used the private paying companies like Visa, MasterCard, and Bank of America to engage in illegal financial blockade. And that destroyed over 90% of public donation that would have gone to the organization. So, Julian thought about using Bitcoin as a way to circumvent this illegal blockade. But then Satoshi, told him that don't do this. Bitcoin is a beta stage, and it's still infancy, so that don't bring this political battle into this Bitcoin space. And then Julian understood, and he decided not to use it then. So he delayed, right, the usage of Bitcoin for his organization. And then this is not. I think that this is a very significant thing, because if WikiLeaks used it early on, then who knows? The U.S. government could have attacked the Bitcoin, and the Bitcoin could have been, just never, destroyed or whatever, right, as a project in that earlier stage. And Julian could have acted out of self-interest and to just use Bitcoin to save his organization, but he didn't. He didn't because he recognized the importance, right, of this project, and then also his alliance with the cypherpunks, right? So, I want people to understand that we owe, WikiLeaks, we owe Julian for Bitcoin's success. So I want people to support his freedom.
Absolutely. I completely agree. I haven't heard of that story in particular, but I know that WikiLeaks was one of the first proponents out of necessity. Yes. Out of necessity, they were one of the first proponents to accept Bitcoin because they got debanked. Like, a lot of conservatives are being in the United States. And tie this in to what I was saying about Facebook, this in with what I'm saying about censorship. censorship of any kind. No one should have the power and the ability to do that. And under the fiat system, it gives a group of bureaucratic elites, whether they're on the left or the right, tremendous amount of power to get to decide was an okay speech, what is an okay transaction, and what is a not okay transaction, and what is a not okay speech. And what Bitcoin does is essentially says no one should have the power. These are the rules, but there's no ruler. That's the innovation. That's the signal. And only Bitcoin could provide that. And all the shitcoins are pretending that they could provide that. But I think as we will learn over time, that's not going to be the case. But anyways, Phil, there was an open source software release today. Why don't you tell everybody about it?
Software releases. The software releases are brought to you by CipherSafe. Check them out, cyphersafe.io, the best, safest place to store your seed. Check it out, the Cypher Wheel. Or you've got the all-new Cypher Grid, comes with the punch tool and the tamper-resistant wire. The link is down below. All right, we've got TDEX version 1.2.4 that was released. It's down below in the show notes. Guys, you know the deal. We post Monday through Saturday, and we've got our audio-only episodes. Check us out on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, and on Anchor.
Awesome. Thank you, Phil. All right, guys, that was our show. Before we go, I'm going to give a very special shout-out to our guest, Nozomi. You can go give her a follow on Twitter at Nozomi Image. Nozomi Imagine. It's really cool how she spelled it, but I'll pop up her handle like always, guys, and definitely go check out her website as well. It's going to be down in the link description. Guys, that was the show. If you enjoyed the show, make sure to smash that like button. And of course, if you want to continue hearing the Bitcoin news from the Pleat-Pleb perspective and the catastrophic fails from the censors, make sure to subscribe to Simply Bitcoin, guys, and we'll see you tomorrow for a brand new episode.
Tune out the clown show Shitcoin Circus. There's no splurge, verge, or surge. It's only Bitcoin.
Booyakasha!